I don't remember clouds or the color of the sky, the sound of birds, or who his father might have been, and the way the significant trees in his life as a child and the way he would have run at the end of the day, the things he passed that would have told him who and where he was, or if he had known the loyalties of a dog. And when I think of him, I say David, though I never heard his name. And when we found him, you couldn't tell if he were Asian, Anglo, or African. And it's not as if anything were equal. I don't know if he'd ever known the unity of a ball game. I think he might have been Chinese American from California. And I wonder if his grandfather had ever taken him fishing. We wrapped him in a poncho and tied the poncho to a bamboo pole. And we carried him that night as if we were all going home in a pilgrimage of the bewildered. I regret the way that we dropped him to the ground near morning, brushing one palm against the other as if we were finished. It's hard for me to say what my feelings were. The cordite blue smoke, the gunpowder smell prominent in the air, a sound like insects scuttling as debris and fragments settled to the ground. Feelings, resistant, like moss-covered field stones. The moment after an explosion, the assessment, searching for the signature searing of blood. The way glass or sharp steel make your nerves think of fire. Who lived and the injured? Time stopped. Sergeant Downey is coming toward me slowly, deliberate to be stepping where the others had gone, insisting that I look at the ground to see who's lying there. But I had already come to this conclusion. It's a fallen tree. I insisted while I straddled the still form to tend to the wounded. Those dark curls of hair next to my boot belonged to Daniel. The muzzle of his machine gun next to where his face would have been down in the earth. It's an echo now. Downey saying to me, "You're not God." Patrick Downey died on his next tour. That strapping, tall, dark Irishman securing faith in all of us standing around him. The faith in us not to be God. At the knee wall in Laverny's attic, in her down mattress under the eaves, only lath and plaster, rafters, and wooden shingles between my face and the rain. In my grandmother's quilt, the way feathered down forms around my body holds me, I wonder, like a cloud creaks in the old house, one of her quilt stories over me. There's no yardstick for what fingers know, the contours of others, the wisdom of refrain. The women ancestors bound into cloth the ancient knots of belonging, desire for shelter. Their fingers and thimbles pushed needles through cloth blocks of first. His shirt, her skirt. Only the bachelor uncle's stoic eye could sharpen their scissors to a cutting edge that held through a winter of cutting along chalk lines, stories, one from the other. An unspoken tremble, sewing forever the thing of caring for their dreamers, one armed around the memories, the other stitching stories, guiding thread until one of them laughs at the nothing said. I couldn't have survived your life, my brother said. I skinned my knees a lot as a kid. Our grandmother's garden made me think I could fly. Steam from her bread still rises at my face. Her clabbered hand-churned butter is a silken tang around my tongue. I am a simple begging waif at her door. The cross-wired pattern of her screen is still on my nose. 3 soldiers stand in an ambush, their smiles still here. A boy, his vest filled with explosive, pats the smoke on his chest as heat rises from my rifle. To Lieutenant, I awakened in the hammock. A seated ashen Buddha rises from the remnants of his hut. I couldn't form a reply. I thought instead of our fishing trip to Steamboat Lake, the fall slate sky, a wind from Wyoming, the solitary immensity of the surrounding silence, more intense, moving toward emptiness. The trout undecided, reeling them to the shore. So this poem is called Swinging a Hammer. I can feel the circle, the centripetal force of life, upright and spinning. Start the swing, and the momentum carries around to the place it is sighted, where the blow comes down. The body pinwheel as though this life is different than the last war, the last shouting, all the necessary diligence. A simple tool slipped into the palm of the hand, all human memory in the body, measuring for the weight of one breast. The sound of a circle. in my Norman Rockwell. There's a Vietnamese woman standing in the open entrance to her grass and bamboo home. Rice baskets like her garden are empty. A single tear is moving down through the red dust on her left cheek. One on either side, her two small children turn their faces up to hers, their small fists filled with the cloth of her trousers, while soldiers level their rifles at her belly. Zippo cigarette lighters inscribed with the 23rd Psalm, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Light the corners of her home. Her nearly inaudible wail surrounds them, surrounds all of us. It is the first time I remember hearing the truth spoken this clearly. She does not confront the soldiers, but looks down at the space between them, aware of the danger of weapons and shame from too much time in the poverty of weapons. You come up for me in meditation. I thought of asking, could I utter, "Forgive me"? I couldn't say what intuition told me about the place I led us that morning. Do you remember the way the breeze would come up from the ground and lift the canopy, the regular growth rings of bamboo? I don't remember that you were heavy. The carry to the chopper should take forever. The impact craters where we stepped, the small hole in the mud where the unexploded round had lain in the soft clay skin of the earth. A silk moth, Cecropia, on the screen door this morning, quivering. It stepped to the back of my hand. The hole in the ground after the rain that morning, saying, "Stay the hell away from here." I didn't say anything about the voices I heard. For most of my life, I still don't hear myself asking for forgiveness. I'm building toward the value of silence, speaking the words of the voices. I promised my mother I wouldn't tell another. Now I can hear myself ask, "Forgive me." want to hear a bobwhite call its name from the fence row west of the barn, down where the black locusts grow, and smell the scent of sassafras digging in the ditch bank, listening to the meadowlarks, their song like crystal bells in the tall wheatgrass. A place to watch the river and the pileated rivet the sky. Smell the new mown hay as it lay over the earth like over the brown confounded earth. And the sound of milo and corn leaves scratching the wind. A continuous flight of blackbirds that lasts for 3 days in an undulating vessel of song and wing-beat threads, a black rope of grackle voices and comfort in the time to watch. The old ones in worn leather boots, their faded Big Smith dungarees, a perfected slowness of a porch swing, and the practiced, tired, and familiar voices. I want to go back to Galesburg before this Demerol wears off, and I turn again, and I look down these rows of beds at a boy in traction, and I can see in his face this victory that is our torn flesh, that he sees in my eyes. I miss a breeze on my skin, the way air will move through a window at night, the way a whisper is your hand on my back, the way water runs down. I prefer this vision from a sphere, adjusting to radiance, the story of connection in the face of sentient fear. Ciphering for the arc of things ever in motion, so much I missed believing that silence is empty. The endless hunger born in trying to fill my hands, my answers, my questions, coming back to me now from lilies and stone, the first days after dying. Are you here because of the article in the Washington Post this morning? Bluebells thickened the road edge as we crossed the Salton Seaway into the Anza Borrego. Now brittle bush and yellows to the base of the mountains and poppies the wind has swept up the knees and ridges of mountains. A dark blue like evening sky scorpion weed in the base of yellow creosote bush. Verbena carpets pink and blue the earth, scents the air. I should answer the photographer, but there is Ocotillo over his shoulder. Its limbs open upward, exultant. 15 feet into the air, coral candles, small trumpets of infused breaths. Suzanne, her love of flowers, lupin, chia, indigo over here, names for her delight. Paul, her godfather in joy. Oh, brown-eyed primrose. A precise petal discretion of butterfly intimacy. My inquirer, camera lens chest high, his tripod tapered mahogany legs in the sand. Sally, Suzanne's godmother. Paul, look, desert lilies and datura, the sacred and the deadly through the eyes of her heart. Paul, fibrillation of his heart nearly delayed his being in this place of wonder. The day before, a vermilion flycatcher brought fluttering to all of our hearts. No, I say, I'm here because of them. Blooms on barrel cactus seem cosmically infused. Thousands of years listening to the stars Orion and the Pleiades above. Cygnus is flying down the Milky Way. Morning doves call as the sunrise shortens the shadows. Their calls slip into his upstairs bedroom from a giant dying elm. Through the open window and merge into his dreams, bringing him awake to the rustle of Mida, his mother, her motion, company to her silence, her mind working backwards through what if. In her blue crepe-trimmed 4 roses flower sack apron, Laverne, his grandmother in her garden, cultivating her flowers, the clink of her hand spade in the gravelly loam, the strain of her panting breath high in her narrow chest. A scared girl, afraid of something in the dark that is in her mind. Married at 14 to Arthur, 25, the 14-year-old's body's development stranded where the baby's began. The doves call, who? Who? Who are you? The soft murmur into conscious, a breath that starts with exhale. The calls in the background until it is in him, like a reason for kindness. Thank you.